apply when we are spreading what we've been taught by the blessed teacher. I think that's the main thing for me.
I think one of the key takeaways from me is there's no more excuses not to step forward and be part of the mission, because every single person in the world has some sort of skill set. So maybe using an excuse that I'm not comfortable with this, I don't know how to do it, or maybe I failed. I think that's no longer a viable excuse because it's all mapped out, the support is there, and whoever or whatever your role is in life, you will fit into some key role or chapter.
Myself, this is the structure is presented in a way where it's valuable and there's a key self of people who's not done in a discord manner. And also the very important self-mentioned is once you have the people, put value in them and say whoever else wants to leave, they can leave. And very important not to disturb but have other people with you that can help. But the very small things as well, to put your names down. Because even if you slightly start taking names and you're doing that, and you disrupt the flow to affect the amount of people that can go.
Sure. Yeah, some more from the brothers.
One of the few of the things that I've taken on board is the fact that with regards to Pathway 3 is that one assumption that I went before was that it could be the candidate they don't need to do 1 or 2, but it's now known that they have to do. They should be, and they should be articulated in and encourage the youth to 1 and 2 and be actually administering to number 2 and know the path and be conscious of that's one thing. Second is the fact that when we have 3 or less, then they can be told that they can establish their own gatherings and they should actually feel, which is really important because at some places we may get less than that. So that's a really important thing for us to know. And the third element is the fact that about the pitch, to make sure that every moment, every aspect of actually is important and significant, and not to let to then drift and wander, even a slight hesitation or less even breaking. One of the elements that we had was that what we did with pitch is to be salah, time for salah, and we lost them.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that you need to grab them then, otherwise you lose them. So that was important for me to actually benefit from it, to make sure we actually get that.
Mashallah. That's a really good feedback as well, actually, mashallah, what Imam Gais was saying, actually. So, to make sure that when we plan our sessions, that we don't plan them amongst Salah as well. That's a really good point. That will force a break. One final.
I could echo a few points that Mark Case actually said, but in addition, I think just what yourself mentioned is the strategy is all about the onboarding, that everything now we do should be evolving around that, our planning, our strategy. The vision is understanding is that we are creating chapters everywhere we go. So our vision should be all about embracing new people, new places. So that's one of the key takeaways for me.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Inshallah, before we move on, does anyone have any questions from the prior session?
I don't know if you're going to address this later, but what will happen is that sometimes we go to maybe doing events in collaboration of other organizations and so on. We will find that, okay, we're treading waters here, we're trying to establish a chapter here, but they've already established something here. Or we're going to a masjid or another community center in which they're already established an organization. What do we do then? How do we pitch? What's the way to pitch it to them? Thirdly is that you may go to maybe some students of shuyukhs different shoes and they've asked you to come to their centre, deliver something. Again, the students are affiliated with someone. What do you do then? And how do you actually pitch this number 3? Or do we even pitch it?
MashaAllah. Really good questions, actually. Does anyone have any other questions before I answer those? Yeah, if you notice, I always say really good questions. That means there's also non-good questions as well, just to be clear, yeah?
I think, mashallah, looking at the aftercare pathways and to see, okay, the end goal, or like the first step is to create those chapters, those local chapters, so then, you know, the end goal reaching the grassroots organisations and creating new organisations. But I think it would be helpful to kind of see the big picture first, was what is it that we're trying to achieve from all of this, and then kind of sit in that perspective.
Was that a comment or a question or feedback?
Comment and a question.
What was the question bit?
So just to see the big picture of, okay, we're creating these chapters, we want to then create big organisations in the long run, but what is the big picture? What is all of this coming into?
So if I could use a diagram, the big picture is that just like we, and when I say we, like look, Bolton is, if you were to say it, our main headquarters, yeah? And from Bolton, everything else has emanated, yes? I.e., from one central organisation, all of this, i.e. the function of the World Peace Movement, all of the things that we do, whether it's welfare work in Pakistan, in Somalia, wherever it might be, all has emanated from a local chapter which existed. That's literally the worldview vision, that every chapter will have the ability to be able to do this and therefore help amplify and scale the mission, which will get us to this, basically. And if I explain to you like that, something really interesting, Ustad Rahim was saying that reminded me of something that Hazrat Sahib had mentioned, that if you think about it, at the moment, what tournament is going on in the world? The World Cup, yeah? And so if you think about, there's a whole load of people outside of certain countries that are qualified that also are, everyone's supporting a country. So that means people in India, in China, in the UK will all have something in common that they can all get behind, even though they don't know each other at all. And then if you think about, people always ask this question, at the risk of triggering Abdullah, they talk about like the Freemasons and the Dajjal and everything else that comes from that. But but why are all these organizations affiliate? Why do they all have the same worldview? Like you and I, any basic human being can see what going on in Palestine is a genocide. Yes, base level. We all get. Most people, you can literally think like, how are people not getting it? But why are there people in the UK and people in the US, people in France, leaders in the UAE that seem to be aligned with that worldview that this is fine, what's going on? Like, Qasim I can't do that, I'm on live, so I can't do the gesture that you did, yes? He did the gesture and he said brainwashed. Just to be clear, it's a halal gesture, because everyone's looking at me like, but he's right to one extent that they all have the same worldview. Because they have the same worldview, they have huge influence over organizations and so forth. No one sat them down individually. Like, irrespective of what Abdullah might say, the Dajjal did not sat down with Donald Trump, sat down with Keir Starmer, sat down with, your local MP and said to them, by the way, this is what I think your worldview should be. That's not what happened, yeah? In spite of what some people might say. But if you think about that, the same applies from the World Peace Movement. What we're going to do is that people will buy in to this worldview. They will buy into the concept of Allah Azza Jal Jalaluhu, the Prophet's ikhlaq and Allah's qualities. Does that make sense? When they buy into that, whether we have now a relationship with the United Nations, there are people there that are going to be like, we get this, like we love this. So then they will say to all of a sudden, you will realize just like overnight, we will have more allies than you could even imagine because they've bought into the worldview. So Hazrat Sahib was saying that before you know it, like these, and they mentioned these organizations, they're going to be on the path. Whether they know it or not, they'll be on the path because they're bought into this concept. It's a very easy concept to buy into. Allah, His qualities, who's going to say peace and justice is wrong? No one will. And then when they see how it impacts ikhlaq and impacts the courses that we're doing, they will buy into it. And that's why they are getting invited to places like the South African Parliament, Hazrat Sahib is, amongst leadership. We were in Ivory Coast and the ambassador of Pakistan in Ivory Coast sought out Hazrat Sahib, somehow found Sister Habiba's telephone number and said that his secretary contacted her and said, I want your sheikh to come and we want to bring him over for dinner and have a meeting. This isn't like, we currently in discussions with the first lady of Sierra Leone wanted Hazrat Sahib to shift the entire Africa tour to come and see them and they'll facilitate. Like, these aren't things that are like tomorrow's vision, they're currently happening right now. So going back to, this all came from the question from the sister, like what is our worldview? Is what we're doing, but at a global level, and everything will be covered in this, you know. Everyone will have the same alignment. So at the very least, even if people aren't Muslim or they're still living the sifats of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Imam Qais, you have another question?
Just two of us. No one.
On top of your other two.
One
One more first, go on.
Basically, on top of this question, second question is about when we do the pitch. Is it necessary for there to be an alternative, for example, person doing the bayan or the seminar? Should we have an alternative person to actually do the pitch and do the onboarding? Or should it be the person who's done the bayan who's going to do it well? Because something they should be set amongst themselves. And secondly, is the fact that, you know, like for Pathway 2, we've got a global mechanism which there's people who have the background to handle everyone. Is there any way we can do that for Pathway 3 as well, where basically once we've got the people on board, the physical team that just set out, outline the systems and basically the grouping, give them the tasks and whoever is responsible. Is there something like this for like a hierarchy or something like that instead of the people who actually introduce them to that?
Yeah. Okay, mashallah, really good question. So let me run through Imam Qais' questions in turn. So he asked before, how do we manage onboarding where we're, say, in a masjid, say we're collaborating with another organization, or we're going to an event of the students of another mashayikh. So firstly, always go, since speaking to everyone, remember our baseline objective in the World Peace Movement is that we normally go for what? Independent venues, yeah? That's our starting point. If an independent venue, who has full autonomy over what we do? We do. So that's, everything is exactly as that. Where it's a masjid environment, you need to have it cleared by the organization that's brought you there, especially with masjids. Right? If they see people breaking out into sessions and stuff like that, so it goes back to how you organize it. You need to make sure beforehand that everything's cleared. Even the Nottingham event, just to be clear, it was all cleared beforehand. So Hazrat Sahib did the onboarding then. It was all cleared beforehand that they're able to do it, etc. So that's the second point. The third point that Imam Qais mentioned, what he asked about was, what about when you're doing collaboration events? How do we onboarding pitch? Now there's two types of collaborations that we do as the World Peace Movement. One type of collaboration is that when you're going somewhere, you meet other organizations and they want to help facilitate what you're doing because they like the message. It gives them credibility. Yeah, that's very common. That's what we've done a lot of times. Generally, they won't have an issue with you doing an onboarding. Does it make sense? Because they might have a very unique thing that they're selling. They might be selling fundraising. They might just be selling feeding the poor. Does it make sense? They might just be selling knowledge. So I'm using these terms on purpose. So that's their product. We're not competing with them because our product's different. So generally those people are going to be fine about it. Where you come across a collaboration where people you feel are doing exactly the same thing, yeah, and you think it may be sensitive, then there's no issue just being clear about what you're going to be delivering. Does that make sense? That doesn't mean you say to someone, oh, by the way, do we have permission to do our onboarding? That's not the way to do it. You just, when you're doing a collaboration, you simply say that this is what we're offering as a product. We'll do a Beyond, and then we offer people these 3 pathways, Jannah, and getting involved in prophetic legacy. Those are the ways to deal with those situations. The final piece, so be clear, by the way, if you think about everything I'm saying, it just goes back to planning. If it's a masjid, you have to get pre-authorization. If it's collaboration, there's 2 types of collaboration. Mainly it's people are helping you bring in people that, and they get name recognition, but they don't really care about what you're doing. And the other collaboration is if you genuinely come across someone, that's very rare, that have the same product as we do. And then there you just clear what we're going to be offering. The fourth point that Imam Qais raised was actually what happens when you get invited to do like, I'll give you an example. In Africa, we got invited on a Thursday when the Ba'alawis do their kind of Mawlid and everything else. Those are just like, events like that, wisdom would dictate that you don't need to go and try to convert these. We're not, firstly, that's not our job, we don't convert people. But over there, you just go and you do networking. It's still good to go. It's still good to deliver a Beyond. And what you would do is, if you have your own event, say happening in 2 days, happening in 3 days, like you have even if you're doing a Jummah, you just invite them to your own event. But you don't start pitching to them about kind of onboarding and things like that. It's not, you have to be mindful of that, especially where you're coming in to do talks of with other organizations. Like you'll get that, like Dawat Islamiyah, they hosted Professor Muhammad in Pakistan. If he decided to start telling them about Tariqa Muhammadiyah, I mean, the same flight that he came in on, I'm sure they would have sent him on the same PI flight back, kind of thing. So just be mindful of that. Another thing that comes out of this, by the way, Imam Muhammad, we were at the GPU, and I'm sharing this again for our learning. He asked Hazrat Sabr a question. He said that, so Hazrat Sabr came, they were in Denmark, weren't they? They flew over for the Global Peace Unity event. And they flew over just for 2 days and they flew back to Denmark. So some of us were in the kind of the quote-unquote VIP room, and you had the shuyukh that had all the scholars that had come from different areas and so forth. And the brother asked them, it was Imam Muhammad, how do we do dawah to these people, like, and everything else. And Hazrat said, look, so they've set out the parameters very clearly, because they speak very clearly in principle. Hazrat goes, first and foremost, our job isn't there to convert or give them the message. Like, you have to understand other scholars, just like we have a project, and the example they gave is that we are building houses. Yeah, other people might have projects that they are doing, so there might be designers of how a house looks like, but their vision is that they would like to build a house and serve people. That's what everyone wants to do, but that's not what everyone is doing. So Hazrat goes is that we're building houses, and as we build a house, we immediately house people, so they benefit immediately from our teachings. That's the nature of what we do as an organization. Other people, they might talk about a house, they might be designing a house, they might have the theory about how to design a house. So Hazrat goes, in those, it's not wisdom to try to think that person's going to take on my own project. That's not, and nor is that our objective. If they benefit from our teachings, that's fine, and that means that they can enhance whatever project they're doing. We might benefit from them. Hazrat said, like, we're making houses, but this person might be a specialty in like how to design a door. That's great. We can take that and we can benefit from it. And the third thing, and this is really, really important, and don't do injustice to this. They said simply meeting the other scholars or other people at these events, they will recognize, I met Imam Qais from the World Peace Movement, from Prophetic Path, from this organization, yeah? Tomorrow, when a year later, 6 months later, something comes up across their desk, or someone says, we've got this organization, they're trying to enter our community and stuff, that scholar will now not object, yeah? They will simply say, yeah, I know, I met him at the Global Peace Unity event. I met that person there. They go, that is sufficient for us, because then you don't have someone at your door objecting. And then obviously some of you may have seen the Nasiyah they gave at the Fajr in Denmark as well, which was incredible. They said, you know, like, so firstly, is that clear what I said? I want that to land before I move on to something else. As an example, they gave, someone asked a question, I think Ahmed Raza did in Denmark. He asked the best questions, by the way, you know, and because we get the best answers. And he asked, Hazrat Sahib said, look, if you're going to go to say, like, we go to this Ba'alawi event, and we think, oh, do you know what, I can pitch the course to them. And it's and the one that we went to in Africa, I think there was well over 200-300 students. Let's say 5 of them, they love the course. 5 of them think we are Tariqa Muhammadiyah, we are prophetic path, that's it. And you've got them and you're like, mashallah, we did a fantastic job. I was like, that's fine. You've got 5 people, but now you've got 5,000 people now that are against you. Like, that are going to make it their mission, that are going to advocate against you. And the chances are we'll probably lose those 5 people as well. You know, so that just gives you a context of like how we operate in those circles. You know, and as they said, as once was said to Hazrat Sahib when the brother asked, can I do dawah to a sister? And they said, are we short of brothers? That, you know, have you expired the 3 billion population in the world that you have to focus on the other 3 billion? Yes. So likewise, if you're focusing on other students, the question is there a shortage of people in the world that we have to kind of go out after other organizations? You know? Okay, any other questions before I move on?
So in terms of the Majlis, the onboarding with the Majlis, and I'll just use Friday Majlis as an example. So currently the way that it's being done is that we'll have the bayan and then the onboarding, and then dhikr will be done afterwards, and then after that, then the continuation where you start on the walls and things like this happens after that. But I think one thing I notice is that it stops the momentum of the onboarding as well, maybe, having the dhikr afterwards, and then obviously then people are like, 2 times there and then everybody's just tired and all of these different things. So in terms of that, how would you navigate that? And then the second question is that with Pathway 2, now many people might not have the commitment to join 6 weeks, for example, every single week there's a call, I'm joining that again and again and again. So how would you then, tackle that issue as well?
Let me answer the second question first, and then the first. The second one is that, remember, when we can signpost people, we can motivate people, but we can't force people to drink. Like, be clear about that from the outset. So what we can do is we're facilitating the courses, we'll send them through the reminders. You should send reminders beforehand, but if someone's not attending the course, they're not attending the course. Yeah. If someone's not choosing to do the Amars and not choosing to do Amars. I mean, if I was to ask everyone here to raise their hand who is doing their daily zikr, I'm sure all of you will raise your hand, mashallah. But I can't force someone to do something like that. Does it make sense? And the reason I'm saying it is not to be despondent, it's to be empowered, because it just means that that's not our job. Our job isn't to make someone attend the 6-week course. Where we do fail is when we don't have an infrastructure in place. Then that is on our head. Does it make sense? It's like, it goes back to the point which I'm going to pick up about Imam Gais was saying, is that if you do get someone onto Pathway 3, or you got someone onto Pathway 2 and they're volunteering, and we don't do anything with them, then we're responsible. Yeah? Then we are responsible. But if you've given them a task, you've given them the volunteering, you've given them everything, and they still don't do it, then that's expected. That's why we expect some of the chapters won't be successful. Yeah? Come to the Friday Majlis, is your suggestion that we move the zikr?
Well, I was just saying, how would you know?
Don't look so worried. It's a genuine question.
Maybe like, for example, having 10-15 minutes before the actual dhikr, so moving the dhikr backwards and then obviously forwards, and then obviously having that session where you give the task to the people and then have the dhikr afterwards.
So, what I would say, then forget about what I would say. What has been said by the Mashaykh on the Friday Majlis is this. Firstly, food is not the priority or the objective. I think there needs to be a real thought about the Friday Majlis, genuinely, like how we signpost it. I only came to my attention the other day that not all the sisters know what the agenda is on the Friday Majlis. Does it make sense? And yet we're trying to navigate them to know what's going on. So I'm not making it as a criticism. Like, the thing that Hazrat Sahib said is that when they look at the Friday Majlis, the attendees tend to be our own brothers or our family members, or the kids of our own brothers. Yeah, because that's never been the function of the Friday Majlis. Like, people should be bringing people in. So they mentioned then that it should be so like stringent, and and I think Abdul Rahman might be putting an Excel sheet or something together. I think you are, aren't you? You are, yeah. And where people that come to the Friday Majlis, they should be told that they have to bring 7 people. And then on the Friday Majlis, that person, so I go over to Hamza and I say to Hamza, okay, so before the Friday Majlis, he commits to bringing 7 people. At the Friday Majlis, I ask him, where are your 7 people? Like, that's how much accountability Hazrat Sahib is putting kind of on Mashayikh. That tells you what they expect, by the way, as well. It doesn't tell you, this isn't new, that's what the expectation is. So that means if you think about what they're saying, you always have to work backwards, which is, all right, so to get that system set up, you have to identify which people you're going to chase. So whether that's Abdul Rahman and all the, Hamza, all you guys that are going to call people, all of us, myself responsible. When I come to Bolton on Friday, I should be bringing 7 people. And then that means that, okay, you need to know the 7 people a week before. Then 3 days into that, you need to be contacting that person saying, are you going to be bringing your 7 people? Are you going to be bringing yourself to the Majlis? And then on the Majlis day, you have to do it. So what I'm saying is, like, we need to give a bit of more of a thought about the Majlis. Hazrat Sahib has made it clear, onboarding has to happen. They said the food is like nawafil. If food doesn't even happen, then it shouldn't happen. Like, we should spend the time that's required. So pathway 1, pathway 2, pathway 3, like, again, it's going to be more effective if you know that you have the roles, task allocated for volunteers. I'm telling you this, like, genuinely, if you could legitimately say, like, people that run the Friday Majlis, yeah, all of us are responsible for that, legitimately say that, Hazrat Sahib, if 5 people or 6 people volunteer, we have 6 tasks that we can allocate to them, it will take us just 10 minutes to get pathway 1, 2 and 3 done to a T. That's more engaging. Can we push the zikr back? What do you think they'll say? They'll push the zikr back. They want no harm with that. But if what you're going to say to Hazrat Sahib is like, we've got only a half sorted idea and we don't know what we're doing, but I feel if the zikr comes in the way and I feel the momentum is like this, then you're going to get the answer you're going to get. So the point that I'm making out of all of this is just that you just need to be pre-planned. Like, we really should give it a bit more thought. And I know some people are mashallah giving it a thought, but really, like, the beyond should be shortened for the onboarding. You've learned that from the training now anyway. But the task that you give the people that join Pathway 3 is going to be the biggest thing, because I am telling you, in a month's time, Hazrat Sahib, and I hope I'm not in Bolton when that question happens, will turn to someone, or all of us, and they will say, the Friday Bolton, like, so many people have been putting their hands up, so what are they doing now? And if you don't have the right answer, then they're not going to be happy. That's not to say Hazrat Sahib not going to tell you off. They don't overtly tell everyone off. That's obvious. They do that in a very few cases. But they're not going to be happy. And just think about that for a second, because that means that reflects on how, if that's Hazrat Sahib not being happy, that means the Mashayikhs might not be happy, and that means the Prophet might not be happy. That's it's a real gravity thing. I said the same to Denmark. They've been saying to Hazrat Sahib, these many people put their hands up for onboarding, these many people put their hands up for Pathway 3. I said, that's fine, but in 4 weeks' time, Hazrat Sahib will ask the question, where are those people and what have you done with them? And if you don't have an answer to that, then by Allah, I seek refuge in Allah. Trust me, I can say, if I tell you a story about what happened in Africa, oh my God. Like, sorry? No, my word, I haven't come to terms with it yet. No. This is...
That's like a...
No, you still got a Darcy story to go through first, yeah? Just put it this way. No, I need to build up the courage to be able to talk about that story. Yes.
Be brave.
No, I'm not brave. The one thing, by the grace of Allah, like, when you say you have to thank the Mashayikhs, Allah, that by Allah, I thank Allah, the Prophet Hazrat Sahib, that taught us about presence, because I can tell you at that moment, all I could do was be in the presence, because I was like, Allah, I do not know what to say, I don't know what to do, I hand myself over to you. Like, kind of thing. That was like, maybe if you give me a couple of, like, I don't know. Sorry? I achieved something, yes, I can tell you that, but what it was, that's a separate point. Okay, anyway, enough of me talking now, inshallah. I'm going to move on. So look, this is what we call the graveyard shift, yes? Which means that everyone's eaten, energy level comes down a bit, everyone starts clock watching. So this is the best time to get interaction and get you guys doing the work. So, yes,
Can I
Saika.
ask one question? So, most of what we presented seems like it's predominantly for Muslims. So, say we, even a lot of our events,
Yeah.
we're not coming in lots of non-Muslims,
Mm-hmm.
and the original World Peace Movement was launched to get the 6 billion non-Muslims and get the message to them. So, in terms of the non-Muslims that we are getting now, if you put them into the current French Pathway 2 model you've got, is that not predominantly focused around the noble language and everything that's used around Muslims?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So then is that not off-putting them? Are they not going to feel like we're just trying to revert them?
Depends who's doing the pitch.
No, but it's meaning that if so...
No, I'm being facetious, by the way.
No, so the strategy is the same.
Yeah, no, there's a... So, at this point, I could put someone on the spot, couldn't I, Labour?
Yeah.
Yes. We have an entire Pathway 3 designed for seat to change.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have a Pathway 1, Pathway 2, Pathway 3, very, very clear for... So, just like for us, they'll also be having a very clear pathway of how they structure these three things. Yeah. I'm not talking about it now, but
Yeah.
So at some point, maybe tomorrow we could get them to do an introduction on it, actually. But and also gives them very clear strategy. Just like our Beyonds are a funnel, aren't they, to all of these pathways? They also have the open house events. So all these people that turn up to an interfaith mosque event, open house event, they have now clear funnel system. They're pathway 1, pathway 2, pathway 3, kind of thing.
I just have another question. So most non-Muslims that we tend to get interested in what we do, we don't get them in gatherings. You get them through one-to-one interactions, work or networking. So there you can't practically do, an onboarding and orienteering meeting. It happens in a very different setting. So with them, would you still take them to the same pathways? Or do they have to have there's got to be a certain kind of build up or prerequisite of kind of doing? If you're not meeting masses of people in gatherings and you're meeting one person, is the strategy with non-Muslims to still establish chapters?
It all depends, to be fair. It really depends. Where you signpost people is going to depend on the person. Doesn't make sense. Someone for example, if someone's on the cusp of being Muslim, I'm not going to signpost them to peace, am I? Because that's taking them one step away from Allah. If they're on the cusp of becoming Muslim, doesn't make sense. You signpost people what's appropriate to them when you meet people on a one-to-one basis. You might meet someone that's very interested in, some other product that we have. That's the best way to do it. Just signpost people to what you think. Meet them where they are at that point. That's what we're always taught. Just whatever. That doesn't mean take out the onboarding textbook. You wouldn't do that normally. I know from experience, you signpost people out when you meet people thinking, oh, this person's really interested in this part of our organisation. Can so and so speak to them? Yeah. That's what I encourage everyone to do. Depending on where the person is, what they're asking you about, you have to deal with that. Any other questions? Okay, brilliant. So what I'm going to ask everyone to do is get into groups of... Sorry, Shari Hassan. Walaikum salam.
I wanted to ask who's responsible for the aftercare development for the onboarding. Is there a specific department? And do we have strategies in place if the masses turn up and they want to be part of this?
So that's a similar question to what Imam Gais asked as well. I'm going to either answer that at the end of the day or I'll answer it tomorrow morning, inshallah. Yeah? Or I'll get someone else to answer it, inshallah. So what I'm going to ask everyone to do now is I'm going to ask everyone to get into groups of 3 or 4. I think the tables are based on 3s, but I think some at the back are clustered, so it might be groups of 4 as well, 3s or 4s. And what the task for you to do is very, very simple. Each of you need to present the World Peace Movement and the onboarding pathways to one another in your group. Yeah. And what you should do is get the others to then feedback on what you're doing. Is that clear? And I need you to rotate it amongst yourself, and then we're going to have some groups that are going to come up and then present to all of us. And then we will all feedback on that group. Yeah? MashaAllah, kind of thing. Yeah? Is that clear? So what I'm going to say is, you've got this space to use. Oh, sorry, but guys, don't go just yet. Abdurrahman.
So you do one part for each, or one person does all
So, I'll let your group decide how you want to do that. Because if you want everyone to get an idea of the pitch, I will probably split it between them. I'm going to give you plenty of time, so time's not going to be an issue. Yeah, I'm going to give you at least half an hour. So I think if half an hour gives everyone a chance to do it. Yeah. Okay. So can I just say, at 3:30, I'm going to pull everyone back. Now, I'm going to say something, and I'm asking you not to take advantage of it. Yes. So there's plenty of space outside you can use. So, because I don't want everyone just to be here, there's soft spaces and everything else. But the risk is, if I say that, you're going to take 5 minutes finding the spot, 10 minutes making a cup of tea, yeah, 3 minutes chatting to each other, and then I'll say it's 3:30 and everyone will be like, oh, I haven't done anything yet. So I'm asking you, can you please, if you're going to use, I do want you to use that some of the space because it's going to be good for the way that you're doing your delivery and you're going to be more comfortable. So you've got soft seating out there, you can use a dining room. We've got access to everything, haven't we? It's like, yeah. So inshallah, I'm going to give everyone that half an hour starts now. Yeah. No. Oh, actually, yeah, I can send it on the group. Yeah, that's a good idea. Guys, I will share a PDF of the slides on the group as well. Yeah.